all of you have helped me to fulfill my childhood dream. Yeah, I just thank you all so much. I'm so excited. I can't wait to write this book. It's going to be a fantasy book, an epic fantasy book.
For something to incite such a severe response in people, it's obviously like a very, very, it's obviously something that's really, really close to their heart.
A guy shows up on Booktok, and a month later, he gets a 2-book deal. I had to know more. We have the pointer hand. We have coffee. Lots of notes on this one. This is necessary to get to the bottom of what we're talking about today, which is very interesting. I am so excited to share this one with you. If you like these kind of book scene topics, subscribe and let me know your thoughts. And also, let me know of any interesting topics that you've come across, because I only have 2 eyes and 2 thumbs to scroll. Well, 3 thumbs. Including pointer hand, but unfortunately you can't really scroll with this. I'm actually a little bit delayed to this, but since I didn't talk about it at the time when this happened, like when all the hubbub was happening, I have a couple of updates. I had so many ideas for a new video, but a video came across my feed and one of the comments made me intrigued into this topic, and so that's how this video came about. The video I saw was this blue-haired guy talking about performative males on Booktok and how women are just eating it up. Many people were speculating in those comments, and I'm a nosy bitch, so I had to scroll and see what everyone's talking about, because of course I had to. Of course. One comment said, "It's gotta be Luke the Aussie, the Booktok dude with a publishing deal." Let's dig in. This is where the deep dive dove. Who even is this guy? Hello? That's what I said when I saw that comment. I was like, Luke the Aussie, who the frick is this dude? But luckily, I came across a video from Antoinette here, and she got me up to speed. So thank you. Shout out to Antoinette. Speaking of, all the people that I mentioned will be in the description. After I saw Antoinette's video, I did some of my own digging. So it turns out that this guy, Luke Bateman, is a former NRL player, which is rugby. He was a former rugby player and sustained a knee injury, so he couldn't play anymore. But then he was also a contestant on the Australian Bachelor, the 11th season of the Australian Bachelor. So that's kind of it. He was a rugby player and was a bachelor. So not much of a timeline there. But then he takes over Booktok. Again, not much of a timeline here, but I want to kind of paint the picture. He posted one video and got 2 million views on it, which then went to grow his account to 100k in 1 week. I really wanted to check his social blade, because back in the day, that was what you checked to see how people's social media was doing. But apparently, social blade is mostly a paid thing now. RIP Social Blade. So I'm not paying for that. Ain't no way. But I kind of wanted to see what his trajectory looked like, but I'm kind of going off of what people were reporting on. To add context, before we get into his actual book deal announcement, I wanted to kind of paint a picture of what his account was about, what he was talking about, all these things. To kind of get a gauge on like who this guy is, even, because this is kind of mimicking what I did when I found out that he got a 2-book deal. I was like, well, let me stalk the page. Let me see what's going on here, because this is kind of crazy. So on April 22nd, he posts his first TikTok addressing Booktok directly, and talks about how he loves fantasy and he wants to find like-minded people to discuss it.
Alright, my first ever TikTok video. I'm excited. I've just been introduced to the Booktok community by my friends Gracie and Carter. Shout out Gracie and Carter. Love books my entire life. Love fantasy. Fantasy is my main go-to. Love of all things fantasy. I've never really had anywhere to talk about it or share those things, because obviously being a male in a lot of blue collar work and from the country, not a lot of emotional depth in the men around me.
He wants to find like-minded people to discuss books with. I get that. I come on here and share my ramblings, my yappings, if you will, and so I get what he's trying to say.
I can't wait to speak to like-minded people about I'm also looking forward to getting a lot of recommendations off of people in the community. After my brief venture into BookTok so far, I've come to realise that there's a lot of females here and you all love smut and spice. So I'm going to be, look, I think I might have to have a little delve into it myself and see what all the fuss is about. We'll see how we go with that.
That's his first TikTok. I'm not going to go through every post he's made because that's a bit weird, but on May 4th, the Star Wars Day, he asked for smut recommendations from BookTok. And to be eased into things...
Okay, now that I've had a couple of days to recoup from Wind and Truth, I'm going to make good on my promise and I'm going to delve into some smut and some spice. So... can everyone on here who loves their smut and their spice, please just drop some recommendations. But for God's sake, be sensible. I've seen some comments about a dark book talk. Don't take me there. Just ease me into things, please.
But of course, the dark romance girlies have no chill, so they recommended Credence, of course, among others. But you can definitely see if you're asking for smut recommendations, I feel like you're trying to attract a certain audience. Not just the fantasy people, you're looking for something else. On May 10th, he recommends the Mel Robbins book, The Let Them Theory. Has no bearing on the overall story, I just thought I'd leave that there so you can make of it what you will. On May 12th, he gives some fantasy reads, very chill, you know. On May 14th, he reads the reigning BookTok pedestal book, acotar, Court of Thorns and Roses, and came with notes. He has this little leather-bound notebook that he reads out of and tells us that, you know, this is his first romantasy novel and has nothing to compare it to.
Okay, besties, let's review acotar. I've got some stuff written down, okay? So, firstly, please know this is my first romantasy novel. I have no yardstick for it, so I don't have anything to compare it to, and I don't want to compare it to like high fantasy or other stuff I've read because I know it's a different genre, different styles, different different outcomes.
And he gives it lots and lots of disclaimers because I understand, because if you tread on the wrong toes, which he does anyways in the future, but he's trying not to ruffle feathers, like his first day of school, and to go easy.
And I know what I'm going to say. I imagine everyone's said it 100 times already, but I'm new here, so please just bear with me. Treat me like it's my first day at school. I'm the new kid. It's my first day at school. Please, so just have some grace and some kindness for me.
He says he wasn't wowed by it. It was kind of clunky. Fair critiques, in my opinion.
Now, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't wowed by it. It was really clunky. I found it really clunky. The transition between sort of scenes and phases of the book, I just found like really abrupt and really like lurchy.
And he gives the coldest of cold takes of acotar, saying that Feyre is an insufferable main character, which she is. But anyways.
I thought the world building and the magic system were pretty poor. Oh yeah. You're all gonna hate me for this, or maybe, but I found Feyre to be like insufferable. Like, she was so annoying. For the first 3/4 of the book, I was just like, oh, this narrator is so annoying. Overall, it was solid. I didn't hate it. Great first venture into romantasy, but I'm definitely going to want more to justify the hype.
People loved this review and the comments are extremely supportive. I also just want to underline how thirsty the comments are for this guy, okay? They are absolutely ravenous for him. On May 25th, he shows off his new hat and bookmark, and I want to stress again that the comments are insanely positive. This man could do no wrong. The fateful day, May 25th, the same day that he shows off his hat and his little cute bookmark, this is the day that the announcement comes. He mentions that he signed a 2-book deal with Simon & Schuster and Atria Publishers Australia, Atria was the one that Haley Pham signed with, but I'm sure it's the American version. But yeah, so Atria and Simon Schuster. He mentions that this is a childhood dream come true, and he's wanted to be an author his whole life.
Hello, Booktok. I just wanted to share some incredible news with you all. I've just signed a 2-book deal with Atria and Simon & Schuster Australia. This is a childhood dream come true for me. I've wanted to be an author my whole life, so it truly blows me away. After I got the call last week, I cried so much. I promised myself I wouldn't cry in this video too, but I'll show you the photo of me crying.
He then goes on to say one of the most controversial thing in the video and says that he can't wait to write this book, which had everyone giving the bombastic side eye. His book is going to be an epic fantasy, he says, and he will put his heart on the page.
I think, it was obviously everybody on here resonating with me that gave me this opportunity, so it would have been impossible. All of you have helped me to fulfill my childhood dream. I just thank you all so much. I'm so excited. I can't wait to write this book. It's going to be a fantasy book, an epic fantasy book, and I can't wait to put my heart on the page for all of you, and I hope that I can write a book worthy of being called one. Thank you all, and watch this space, because we got some epic fantasy coming your way.
This is where the overwhelming comments, positive comments, turn a little bit different. We see a departure here from the comments that he's used to. And yes, there was a ton of people giving their opinion in the comments. There were some supportive, of course, but damn, it was pretty harsh. We need a coffee break. On May 27th, he goes on the morning show on 7 to talk about the deal. So he's doing a little bit of press, and he says the story has been with him for 10 years, but started writing it as a passion project over the previous 6 months.
Listen, on that exciting news, you got this new book deal just been announced. Talk us through that.
But I've wanted to write books my entire life, and I've had this story. This story is kind of my story, and it's been with me for like the last 10 years, and this story has grown and changed as I've grown and changed, and it's really sort of come together in my head over the past probably 12 to 24 months, and I started writing it just as a passion project about 6 months ago.
He then reached out to a publisher with what he had already written. And I'll get to this in a moment when we cover the backlash, because I think initially it didn't quite seem that he had anything written and got the deal anyways. But yeah, that timeline is insanely short. I mean, even for TikTok, that's crazy. So a lot of things happen extremely quick on TikTok, but April 22nd to May 25th announcing a book deal, that's kind of nuts.
And then when everything sort of started taking off with the Booktok, I reached out to a publisher and just said, look, I really, this is my idea, this is what I've already written. I really want to write this book and share it with everyone, and they really liked the idea.
With such a crazy timeline, you're going to anger tons of people. Like especially Booktok, when I think there's so many authors and writers or aspiring writers and people trying to make it, to see what happened to him happen so quickly, it's gonna ruffle feathers, man. The optics were insane. He had a little bit of of a book written. We'll get to that, how much he had of the book written, but at least Haley had a whole book. Okay, it needed a bit of editing, but she had a whole book. So now the people respond. Of course, TikTok is about the people. Everyone has to give their opinion. And there were some really insightful views on this. I'll also get to the updates in a bit, but his newer videos still have very positive reviews. I think at the end of the day, he'll be fine. His book will be fine. Nothing will happen to him. This is just a symptom of a larger issue, I think. But I'll get to my thoughts as well in a bit. So I found a opinion here from a creator named Zamor, a writer and a filmmaker who posts a lot about the writing or the craft of writing. She ends up summing up the issue from their perspective and discuss the question of, is influence now more important than experience? Because you have 100K or 100 plus, 150, or you have like a captive audience, is that more important than experience.
Personally, what I'm feeling and thinking about this, I'm not interested in attacking him. That's not helpful. I guess I'm more so fascinated about what this moment reveals about traditional publishing. Who gets fast-tracked? Who gets overlooked? What does visibility mean now? These are big, necessary questions, and if we don't ask them, who will? And I mean, okay, there's also a couple other things that my mind naturally progresses to. Like, is influence now more important than experience? We're seeing the publishing industry, which used to require years of experience, agent querying and rejection letters, now pivoting to influence as currency. Is this going to be the new standard? Are follower counts the new slush pile?
Next, let's hear from the Australians. I have a couple of opinions here from our fellow Aussies. Well, I'm not Australian, but I did live there for 1 year at a long time ago. Mamamiaoutloud, they talked about how publishing is not fair, especially in the small Australian market, and I can imagine it's insanely tiny. And they say that people with large followings essentially do all the marketing for them, and that kind of is true with any sort of creator that is able to make videos about their upcoming work.
In a matter of weeks, he amassed 170,000 followers. So he signed a 2-book deal for a fantasy series that he hasn't written yet.
The book industry isn't fair. Like, it isn't fair.
Yeah.
It is absolutely true that you could be the world's most gifted writer and the person who's got 1 million TikTok followers is going to get a book deal over you. It's just true. The book industry, particularly in Australia, is small. It is not that profitable. And the whole point of why they get excited about creators and writers who have followings is because it does nearly all their marketing work for them.
The biggest books of the last few years, Colleen Hoover is the best example, have been born of BookTok at a time when platforms matter more than ever. If you are in a marginalized group who the algorithm doesn't reward, I think every publishing house would agree that it's really, really hard and that the gatekeepers of even getting into that house feels near impossible.
Another creator gave a different perspective on this. What he did is kind of calling out a little bit of the hypocrisy in the book community, or the reading community, I should say, saying that the people critical of this book deal are following famous and more established authors instead of trying to follow the people that they think should get these opportunities.
I think that hypocrisy element comes from complaining about people not getting opportunities, but then also not following people, not supporting people, not giving people the traction, because these opportunities come from follower counts. They come from video engagement. They come from likes and shares and comments. Not just the opportunities, but the encouragement to continue making videos comes from followers, likes, comments. I think if you're upset of this guy getting all these opportunities and you're not following loads of creators who don't get those opportunities, ooh, you see the problem? Main point, if you're upset about someone getting all these opportunities because they're followers, follow the people that you want to get those opportunities. Follow the voices that you think should be elevated and like their videos and comment and share them and support them.
Essentially, we should support smaller creators in building their following so they can have the opportunity to get their stuff published, or at least get recognition or be on the radar of some of these big publishers. I mean, the dark side of that, of course, is the Audra Winter situation, but I don't have time for that. I don't have the time to look into that. I don't think I'm ready. I'm not ready for that rabbit hole. So what does he have to say about this? What does Luke Bateman have to say about all this backlash? He did an interview with an outlet called Chatter, where he responds to some of the backlash, saying that he can understand how this could make people angry and resentful.
I can wholeheartedly understand like how angry and resentful like these things would make people.
But that dragging everyone down leaves everyone at the bottom, and a rising tide lifts all ships. And that there's not a barrier, There's not a barrier of entry to reading or writing.
I obviously have advantages that other people don't. How do I capitalize on those to help lift everyone up? Because I feel like, you know, dragging everyone down, dragging people down leaves everyone at the bottom, whereas a rising tide lifts all ships. And if I can use my platform and my voice and my privilege and position in society to help uplift others. There is no barrier of entry to reading and writing. Like, if you can pick up a book or pick up a pen, you can tell a story or you can read a story. Like, I have no idea what they've been through in their life, the challenges they've faced, or, you know, the discrimination, or anything that they've had in their lives. So for something to incite such a severe response in people, it's obviously like a very, very it's obviously something that's really, really close to their heart.
So the perception was that, like, he kind of just got a book deal off a proposal, off an idea. But we do hear from his agent, or the person who signed him at Simon & Schuster, Atria, Australia. Grace McKinnon from ABC Australia posted a video to their TikTok account on June 4th, giving the audience some answers to their burning questions and sort of the behind the scenes of what happened with this book deal.
We have answers to your Luke Bateman book deal questions. Is it just one big PR stunt? Are influencers guaranteed book deals? And what does it say about the state of publishing?
They also talk about privilege in the industry, and they get an opinion of a local bookstore called Amplify Books, again linked in the description.
Then, out of nowhere, he announced a 2-book deal with a major publisher. The internet exploded, with some people questioning how an influencer with no written background managed to land a 2-book deal, which is exceptionally rare.
Yeah, even if you go and pitching a duology, a series or whatever, the publisher is not guaranteed to want to take that risk on you. Often instead get told to change the ending so it could work as a standalone.
Apparently this is not a marketing stunt, and I'm so happy to hear from Anthea from Atria Books. She says he pitched her his fantasy series and that he's had in his head for a long time, and she was blown away by it. Just blown away. And that he will be writing it and no ghostwriter.
This is not a marketing bit. He did not have a book deal before joining BookTok. Anthea is the publisher at Atria Books who signed Luke, and she's helped to clear up some questions.
Luke pitched me this fantasy series that he has had in his mind and has been working on for a long time. I was blown away by it.
Luke provided a sample of writing and the concept for a fantasy series. She also clarified that there will be no ghostwriter.
Yes, Luke is indeed writing his own book.
I never thought for one second that he was ghostwriting it. I was like, no, he's probably writing it himself. We then get a little insight into getting a book deal without having a book finished. And finally, some clarification on how far he is with the book.
We very often acquire books that aren't fully finished yet.
Yeah, getting a book deal on proposal is still typically more so in the non-fiction realm, not fiction, which is what we've seen this time.
The publisher said he's about 1/10 of the way in, which is about 10,000 words.
Anthea also spoke to the Sydney Morning Herald about signing him, and she was quoted as saying, "Luke and I had a long meeting where he went over the scope of the series he was working on, detailing the magic system, the journey of the protagonist across the series. These are the two things that, in my opinion at least, are most important for assessing fantasy submissions," she says. He then submitted a writing sample, a thorough chapter outline for book 1, and a synopsis for the series. In total, we had almost 10,000 words to assess his commercial and literary potential. So there you go. That's what he had to pitch to the publisher. Very interesting. So if we compare sort of Haley Pham and this guy, Luke, I think, although Haley is young, like a lot younger than Luke, she put a lot of years into her channel and made a successful YouTube channel. Like when she started writing her book, she brought her fans with her on the process. So she was like, I'm starting to write a book. Here's what I'm doing. Like she brought people along with her. And maybe this kind of goes into the talk about, you know, having to wear so many hats if you do want to be an author, like being a marketer and all that stuff. This guy comes out of literally nowhere, or seemingly optically, from what we can see as people, he comes out of nowhere. And so I think that is just really the crux of the issue. And to me personally, it does feel kind of icky. And if I were in his shoes, I would feel the most intense imposter syndrome. We don't know anything about his writing. We just only have seen books he's recommended. From what I can see, if you're not an influencer, it can take a really long time to get a book deal. From what I was reading, that people were saying like, oh, you need a finished product. Like your book needs to be polished. It needs to be ready to go, ready to print, ready to put on the shelves before you can even think about going to a publisher. Obviously, there's many variations on this. It's not like it's not like a fixed process, obviously, but for the most part, you can expect from one Reddit comment I saw, it says anywhere from 6 months to never is how long your book will take to get on the shelves. Hilarious, but also depressing. With all that story, what has he been doing since then? Since that was in May, what has he been doing? Has he been sharing anything? Well, yes, he has actually. People are a little bit more in the know from, you know, the day he announced it, because 1 month is crazy, guys. I can't stress enough how insane that timeline was. But yes, on June 24th, he posts a day in the life talking about owning his business and writing a fantasy novel. In it, he documents his day-to-day work, but he does show himself writing at dinner time, basically at the end of the day. On August 11th, he finally posts some writing so that people can kind of judge for themselves, not go off Atria, the Simon & Schuster girly pop. His viewers can take a peek into his writing style. On October 11th, he posts a video called "The Day I Finished Writing My First Novel." So we can assume that he finished his book on October 11th. And we see clips of his day, and we see the moments that supposedly he finishes his novel, but it's probably not. It was probably a recreation, but it's okay. That's okay. But he does post a lengthy caption, and it says, quote, "There were many days where I finished work and had to drag myself to the keyboard, dreading trying to form any semblance of a coherent sentence. But if you're waiting for the perfect time to write, when you feel good, inspired, motivated, you will write 1 day a year. It's work, plain and simple, and requires discipline. The creativity happens away from the keyboard when you're engaged with something else, when you're engaged with life. This took sacrifice beyond measure. It was worth every second, though, for it is a piece of my heart that I get to share with the world. Now to edit, and then edit some more. It's still a ways off, but I'm giddy with excitement for you all to read." And then, just like what everyone does, on October 21st, he announces he has a podcast called In the Good Books. Bro is getting his bag, okay? What were people saying about making podcast equipment? Like, we should raise the prices on podcast equipment. So, what do I think? Okay, I've shared my opinion a little bit. But, you know, at the end of the day, this is such a rough one. And I really hope someone prepared him for the things that was going to happen. Like, they had to have known that this was going to ruffle a ton of feathers. Like, this was really not done in the best way at all. It was terrible, but it's just the optics were atrocious and the backlash was obviously inevitable. His book could be amazing. It could be incredible, but who the hell knows? And, I mean, he did post a little bit of his writing, but still, the timeline is just so insanely quick. The audience he's attracting, I don't think, is going to be the person to read his epic fantasy. Do you see what I'm saying? I think he's attracting the wrong audience, in my opinion. There's a little bit of a Venn diagram overlap, but I don't know. Maybe I'm out of pocket there, you know. And at least Haley wrote a romance. Again, I'm talking about Haley because it's fresh in my mind. But she wrote a romance and her audience is overwhelmingly like romance girlies. So it makes sense for her and her audience, the kind of book she wrote and the books that she will continue to write, I'm sure. Lastly, I just wanted to say to indie and small authors and aspiring writers that I don't want this to discourage you. Don't look at this guy and think that you can't do it just because of his following all this. I think that keep fighting for your story and your voice, and I do think that your story will find its audience. And I know that it's hard these days to be writer, editor, graphic designer, social media marketing person, speechwriter, all these things. It can be so hard, you know, even making all this channel stuff is kind of crazy. I don't know anything about all this stuff. Just keep going. Just keep trucking. Oh my God, the sun. Just keep trucking. You can do it. You. Little pointer hand has spoken and says you can do it. But that's what I think. I can't wait to see how his stuff develops, how his writing, how his series, what comes of it in the coming months and years. So subscribe and let me know what you think of this whole situation. Have you heard of him? Did you watch him on The Bachelor? Australian girlies, are you there? Yeah, just let me know, and I hope you have a great weekend. Goodbye from me and Pointer Hand. He's waving bye. Bye.